Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. We have Emma Raducanu versus Ekaterina Alexandrova for the Rome Masters matchup. Cannot wait to get into this one. It's a familiar matchup in 2025. The head-to-head is 1-1, and there's a lot to dissect into this one. So before we do get into it though, remember to hit that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating and review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Thank you to all our members on YouTube as well. Your contributions are much appreciated. Okay, so the head-to-head, as I mentioned, is 1-1. Alexandrova won the most recent matchup in Doha 6-3, 7-5, and Raducanu did beat Alexandrova at the Australian Open, where she had a pretty good run, beating her in 2 tiebreakers, 7-6, 7-6. So the fact that it's on a slow clay court, we've got to discuss it because it's going to be a big factor. Alexandrova, generally speaking, is a very big hitting player. Raducanu is a player who can hit with some potency and power, but she's really built her game upon taking the ball early, being able to move very well, and using angles, and I think craft rather than just raw power, which I think Alexandrova does have in abundance with her serve and ground strokes. In terms of how it might play out on clay, so I think tactical advantages that Raducanu might have on clay, I think, would be the ability to redirect well on both sides, forehand and backhand. She has variation as well, so she's able to use angles, hit lob backhands, for example, to change the pace. On the forehand side as well, she's able to with more topspin, flatten out. She's got that variety, which is always, in my opinion, a really good asset to have on clay. The slower court as well is going to mean that she's not going to feel Alexandrova's power as much on a clay court. She's got fantastic movement as well. Raducanu is definitely improved, I think, since that, I think it was Australian Open run and Miami run. She's been covering the court really well, defending well out the corners, and I think actually she's been sliding quite well on clay from what I've seen. She fought a very talented young player in Maya Joint from Australia in her first match, won that in 3 tight sets. So I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how she holds up against Alexandrova. Also, the backhand could be key here. I mean, on clay, you tend to see players run around their backhand more and more because they have more time to set up the shots or their shots. But her backhand could be quite key. If she can find good angles on that side, Alexandrova is susceptible to netting the backhand and looking a bit awkward. I think the biggest challenges on clay for Raducanu and against Alexandrova are actually going to be on the serve. As we know, generally speaking, service games are harder on clay because of the slow nature of the surface, and it just means that Alexandrova is going to have more time to step in, or at least more time to attack the Raducanu second serve especially. So she's going to have to really graft, I think, on her service games. And there's going to be, I'm sure, a period of points at least where she's going to have to defend well, try and make Alexandrova play the extra shot or two. And I think her variety is going to come into play in those instances. I also think that even though she has been moving on generally, I'm not 100% convinced about her being an exceptional mover, specifically on clay. And I think that's going to be interesting. How does she defend out the corners? Does it look natural? Does it not look natural? Because a player like Alexandrova will really highlight how good your movement is on the surface. I think for Alexandrova, I think we know that, look, she has a very, very good aggressive baseline style, right? And I think she'll need to adjust a little bit to the slower speed, but she has the ability to flatten out her ground strokes and still be able to hit through Raducanu potentially. But she is going to have to have some patience and better shot tolerance than maybe we're used to seeing from her, because Raducanu will try and extend the rally. She'll test Alexandrova's stamina and I think her patience at times. We saw her play a very physical match against Maya Joint, and her conditioning nowadays is really good. So if she's able to make it really physical, that's where Alexandrova could struggle. However, if Alexandrova is able to take the ball early, try and take time away from Raducanu, even on clay, it's going to be a challenge for the Brit. Where she could struggle, I think, and we've touched upon it just now, is, you know, the counter-punching style of Raducanu. Also, in my opinion, well, not in my opinion, I think it's factual. Her power, despite, yes, she can take it early, she can flatten out, but she's going to have to then play with more risk. So I think clay generally, especially slow clay courts, are not really the best service or surface even for someone of Alexandrova's style. In terms of how the match might play out, I mean, from my opinion, I think we're going to see longer rallies. I think Raducanu is going to extend the rallies on clay. I think she's going to try and enforce errors from Alexandrova. We could see Alexandrova overhitting at times. I think from a mental standpoint, Raducanu recently has shown really good mental resilience, something that wasn't really something that we didn't really associate with Raducanu in the past, I think it's fair to say. But now it seems that she's developed a really good steely mentality. And for Alexandrova, I think she maybe doesn't have the same. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen of her in her career so far, it doesn't seem to be the same sort of mental resilience, in my opinion. There's going to be lots of momentum swings, breaks of serve, etc. So I think it's going to be who can go with the flow and make sure that they are able to not get too flustered by the breaks of serves and the swings of momentum, but actually stabilize themselves as much as possible in this match. And I think the slower clay and Rome just favors Raducanu slightly. So I would favor her movement, like tactical awareness, defensive capabilities, and actually just specifically her return game over someone like Alexandrova, where she's got obviously very good raw power, but it could be inconsistent. So I think Raducanu will do enough to neutralize Alexandrova and actually win in straight sets. Let me know in the comment section below what you think and why. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and we'll see you on the next video.